Hello, and welcome back to episode number 4 of Susty Talk. We're recording this on the afternoon of Thursday, the 16th of April. For those of you who aren't familiar now with Edie's new Susty Talk series, then where have you been? Because this is the place for sustainability and energy professionals to keep the conversation going and to remain connected and to continue the climate action through this period of lockdown here in the UK and beyond. For this episode, very pleased to be meeting for the first time Claudia Dommett-Nöhren. Hopefully I've said that correctly. And Claudia is the Head of Sustainability and Innovation at the railway infrastructure firm Colas Rail. So Claudia, nice to virtually meet you. I suppose this is one of the small positives that could be taken from the lockdown economy we find ourselves in, which is that new connections like this can be formed, I guess, and conversations could be had without the need for us to leave our own living rooms. So tell me a bit about what you do and what life in lockdown looks like for you.
Sure, great. Well, it's great to be here, and thanks for hosting me one of the Susty Talks. So I work for Colas Rail. We're kind of split into 3 elements of business. We maintain the railway infrastructure on behalf of Network Rail in some regions of the UK. We also, anyone that's kind of up north in Birmingham, we're also work within an alliance with another design consortium and the client to set up the tram system there. And last but not least, we also run locomotives up and down the country, and we have our own plant fleet on track machinery for the railway infrastructure as well. So kind of 3 different strands, if you will. I sit within the HQ function of Colas Rail, so I look at delivering the sustainability strategy and also innovation culture within the business. I kind of lead the innovation champions within the business, and within HQ I have an environment manager working for me, and then we also have sustainability leads within our different divisions as well. And then in terms of kind of how things have changed, it's been a bit of a shift in priorities, really. Whereas before I was very much focused on kind of delivering campaigns across the business and raising awareness. It's now moved from kind of implementation phase more into kind of a planning and strategic outlook phase, kind of in a way batting down the hatches, researching, getting all our ducks in a row, really. So when COVID, we can get out of lockdown, really. We can kind of hit the ground running and start delivering against our sustainability strategy again. On a personal note, I do have a 2.5-year-old teenager at home, so it's trying to balance my partner's needs and myself as well. So that's been an interesting juggle and getting used to as well.
Okay, and so how are you kind of maintaining connections internally in the business at this time, and with your direct team in particular?
So we use Microsoft Teams a lot, as we're using now. The connection, I find, establishing connections takes a bit more time, because you can't just walk up to someone or, travel to a site office and have that conversation. So it's a lot around kind of virtual meetings, setting up phone calls, setting up these online meetings to keep people engaged and keep people reminding that, COVID is there, and that, although that's a priority, sustainability and our sustainability work streams are still there, kind of bubbling around in the background and still need to be delivered.
Okay. So what are you finding to be the biggest challenge then at the moment in relation to lockdown, the work that you're doing? Is there one thing in particular that you're finding really difficult?
There's several, really. I think just to pick up on kind of your last question, I think the engagement piece is the most difficult, because you just can't. The priority isn't there for sustainability at the moment, because everyone's focusing on, maintaining a physical distance, keeping everyone safe and healthy, which is naturally their priority. But also, we still need to deliver the work. So we've been identified as critical supplier to a Network Rail. So we are still out there delivering works and maintaining the track in the evenings and weekends. So that really is the business priority. So maintaining the sustainability engagement doesn't have that same priority ranking as it had in the past. So it's really about trying to kind of, in a way, pick your battles and those little nuggets how you can get into people's kind of work streams and trying to embed sustainability as part of the new business as usual for the moment.
Have you got any practical things, tips, advice you've picked up on that front, like things that you found particularly effective, little subtle things you've done that maybe have worked quite well at what is quite a difficult time to communicate anything?
So one of the things we're looking at the moment is, I think this is true kind of across the UK, is people have been kind of, even though we're physically distancing, I think we're socially actually becoming much more of a close-knit community. I therefore kind of prefer physical distance, social distance. I'm kind of on a by the by, but and I think people are doing a lot of things personally in their home lives and when they're not at work to try and kind of help people, whether it's a local community or the NHS, etc. And then it's so what I'm trying to do is kind of tap into that and kind of show, linking the kind of social sustainability element into that, so that people can see how that is actually contributing to a wider positive social impact of their lives, really. So it's really, it's the social element of sustainability that in a way will be easier to drive because you're kind of appealing to people's hearts and minds in this time.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing a lot of organisations turning to the social aspect of CSR, I guess, in terms of what they can do to help in this sort of immediate term. And I guess that's then where the role of the sustainability professional has to kind of adapt or at least enhance the focus on that social side for the time being. Yeah. So later this afternoon, Thursday, the 16th of April, the government's expected to announce kind of an extension of lockdown here in the UK for a few more weeks at least. Hopefully, all being good, things might begin to ease up in May and June and across the summer months. It's obviously very soon to be able to kind of predict what life will be like after lockdown. But Claudia, do you have any views or thoughts, visions as to what sustainability and environmental management will look like when we do return to sort of normal working life? Do you see any changes on the way?
Well, I think the way we define normal working life will change fundamentally. I think the way we look at sustainability will change only if we're able to have the conversation now about how we want to return back to a new normal. I think that's the key. And I think being there in the business or wherever you're working, showing how actually sustainability and environmental management can actually support this kind of the fight against the pandemics and coronavirus, etc., I think will be quite key. So really kind of linking sustainability much more closer to this pandemic that we're in now will help us embed sustainability even more into business as usual moving forward. But we need to start having this conversation now.
Okay, interesting. Beyond coronavirus then, or I suppose aside from just coronavirus, what are your sort of top priorities, hopes for the remainder of 2020 from a sustainability innovation perspective? What does success look like for you this year?
So I think one of the key priorities for us for this year is looking at the science-based targets and really the business on board with getting the kind of the business case signed off and getting the work started on setting science-based targets for the business. And from an innovation point of view, it will link very closely into kind of how we deliver against the science-based targets, but it's a lot around, in a way, reigniting that passion for innovation across the business to really embed innovation as something we do on a day-to-day basis across.
The science-based targets sound interesting. Have you kind of set those, established those already, or are you just going through that process?
We're going through that process now, so we haven't set them yet, but we're currently we're in the research stages about kind of what we need to do, how it would look like, and get the business on board to them.
Yeah, which I suppose back to the current state of play is made extra difficult by the fact that there's now these competing priorities, I imagine.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm conscious of the time, and I know that we're trying to keep these down to kind of 15 minutes or so. So I'll end with the sort of generic last question I've been asking all of our Susty Talk interviewees, which is any sort of tips or advice or thoughts that you have for fellow sustainability and environmental professionals out there who are working from home, maybe furloughed, maybe becoming a bit frustrated by the sort of lack of connection or some of those competing priorities you mentioned. Any little tips you'd have for them to kind of get them through their working week?
I think there's a lot, even though kind of we're all at home now and we can't really meet people face to face, there's a lot of virtual online meetups happening and webinars, for example, that ED's running, that really, I think, helps foster some connection in these really weird times. And I think it's also important to focus on, sustainability isn't dead now. I know COVID is the priority now, and rightly so, but kind of our time will come again, and we need to be ready with a variety of different options once we come out of COVID to see what will fit in the new normal. So I think that's something important to bear in mind. And I think that's something that will hopefully keep us going through this time. And for furloughed colleagues, I think there's a lot of online learning out there that you might be able to do. And I've seen some other people volunteer, offer up their time to work with charities if any charities require support, or work in the community. I appreciate not the same as, working within your field, but there's a way to kind of keep going. And I guess the most important thing is, look after health and well-being, because we all need to come out of this relatively mentally fit so we can continue to deliver the sustainability agenda moving forward.
Couldn't agree more, and I think that's a nice positive note to end on. So Claudia, it was very nice to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us as a guest in this episode.
Thank you.
And yeah, best of luck with everything there over the next few weeks. Hope you can get those science-based targets signed off this year.
Posted.
So see you all very soon for our next episode of Susty Talk. Apologies if there are any weird glitches in the system for this episode. I think it's probably my Wi-Fi, so sorry about that. And yes, I think the next episode will be coming to you next week. So in the meantime, stay safe and keep up the positive Susty Talk. Thank you.